Welcome to Pattern and Craft. I'm Courtney, and in today's video, I have this beautiful little edge stitch to show you today. This is great for the edge of a crochet square. It could be good along the edge of a border, and it also can be used as a join between crochet squares. So first I'll show you how to just make the edge stitch, and then I'll show you how to turn it into a decorative join. Okay, I have a solid granny square here as an example, as a sample to work on. Of course, you could use any item that you have a straight edge that you want to add this edge to. I did add a single crochet edge all along this square. So you might want to do that just so that the edge stitch has something to anchor into that's a little bit more stable. If you just end the square with, say, double crochet, it might not sit as nicely. It might be okay, just try a sample, and if it looks a little better with adding a single crochet at the edge of your project, then go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to start in a corner, and I'm going to start with a standing single crochet. You can do a slip knot on your hook, or you can just wrap your yarn like this from back to front and then in front of your tail of your yarn, and then just kind of hold it. That's what I do so that I can avoid having knots in my work. And now we're going to insert the hook into the corner chain space and do a single crochet there in the chain space. And we're going to do a chain 2, 1, 2, and one more single crochet back into the chain space in the corner, just like that. Now we're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 2 stitches along the edge here. We're going to skip, don't forget that there's a stitch here. It kind of gets covered by the stitches that you just made. So here's 1 stitch, and here's the 2nd stitch, and here's the 3rd stitch where we want to work into next, and we're going to do a single crochet there, a chain 2, 1, 2, and then one more single crochet back in that same stitch, and then chain 1, skip 2, single crochet in that 3rd stitch, chain 2, 1, 2, single crochet back in the same spot, chain 1, skip 2, 1, 2, work into the 3rd stitch, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet back into the same spot, chain 1, and skip 2. So that is the pattern that we are following for this. It's the same thing. Into the corner chain space, we made a single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Then we did a chain 1, skipped 2 stitches, and worked into the 3rd stitch, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1, skip 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1, skip 2, and so on. And that's the repeat we're going to do all along the edge, and then I'll show you what to do when we turn the corner. All right, so I'm just going to keep working. Every 3rd stitch, I'm going to do 2 single crochets separated by a chain 2, worked into the same stitch, and then a chain 1 and skipping 2 stitches between the next grouping. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the same spot, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, and that brings us to the chain space of the following corner. So we're going to do our single crochet, chain 2, single crochet pattern. And now that we're in the corner, we're going to turn our work 90 degrees, and then we're going to work the same thing again. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet again in the corner chain space. So that's the repeat in the corner. we're going to do 2 of those groupings in the corner. Single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. Then we go on as usual. We do a chain 1, skip 2 stitches, work into the 3rd with the single crochet, chain 2, single crochet again, and chain 1 and skip 2 stitches. So we get sort of a little square in the corner, and then we get these cute little peaks all along the edge. So if we want to turn this into a join, we're gonna want to start halfway through the corner. So here I have single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. I'm gonna want to do that 2nd grouping, but for the chain 2 is where we're gonna join it. So I'm gonna do single crochet, and then instead of a chain 2, I'm going to grab my work that I'm joining to, and I want to work into this point here because that is the first point of this side, and this is the first point of this side, and we're joining these 2 sides. So this time, instead of making a chain 2 here after this single crochet, I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 2 chain space between the stitches in this peak. I'm gonna pull up a loop and pull through for my slip stitch, and then make 1 more slip stitch back out of that chain space. And then I'm gonna make my 2nd single crochet. Now I chain 1, skip 2 stitches again, make a single crochet, and then of course I would normally do a chain 2, but I'm gonna go into this chain 2 chain space. I'm going to slip stitch into the chain space and then slip stitch out of the chain space. And then I'm gonna make that single crochet back into that same stitch, just like that. So here when we zoom in, that is how that looks. Instead of making a chain 2, we're doing 2 slip stitches, 1 into the chain space and 1 back out. And that gives us a beautiful little join. I'm going to do a few more so you can see how that looks, and then I'm going to show you how to turn the corner here while joining. So again, we're going to chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, work into the 3rd stitch, single crochet, slip stitch into the corner of the opposite chain space, slip stitch back out, single crochet, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, work into the 3rd, a single crochet, slip stitch in to the chain space of here, slip stitch back out, a 2nd single crochet back in the same spot, chain 1, skip 2, single crochet. Oops, I almost made chains, but actually I'm doing slip stitches now to join. So slip stitch into the corner, slip stitch back out of the corner. Each of these is kind of like a corner because it's a chain 2 chain space right here in between the 2 stitches. That's why I'm calling it that. It's like a little peak or a corner. Again, single crochet back in the same stitch, chain 1, skip 2, single crochet, slip stitch to join, slip stitch again, single crochet, chain 1, skip 2, and now I'm in the corner. So I'm going to do my first single crochet. I'm going to slip stitch into this first bump on the corner here. 1 and 2, single crochet again. Then we're going to kind of turn the work so that it's easier to work. It's actually kind of easier to work at a diagonal. And then slip stitch into the corner of the next square. So first we worked to the square directly to the right, then we turned it, and again we worked to the one to the right, or the one that's kitty corner from the one we just worked into. So slip stitch into that little corner chain space between the stitches and back out, and make another single crochet into the corner. Okay, chain 1, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, work a single crochet into the third, slip stitch into the next little chain 2 chain space here, slip stitch back out, single crochet, chain 1, skip 2, single crochet, slip stitch to join, slip stitch back out of that chain space, single crochet again in the same spot, chain 1, skip 2, and so on. So I'm going to finish that up and then let you see how it looks. You do get sort of a hole here in between, so if you like that look, then cool. If you don't, we might want to try something a little different, but I like how this all joins beautifully in a little lattice shape here. And then you get a little opening between each of your squares. Okay, I'm approaching my last corner here, making that second single crochet, chain 1, skip 2, and work into the chain space now. Single crochet, slip stitch to the first of these 2 bumps in the corner, work between those 2 stitches into the chain 2 chain space, slip stitch, single crochet, and again, single crochet and go back to the chain 2, single crochet that we were doing before. And then you'll want to finish off this last side. Okay, now I'm approaching my first corner. I'm just finishing up this little grouping of stitches. Chain 1, and then I want to work into the corner and do that second group because we started with just one group and we need to do the second. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet back in the corner, and we are done. So I just pull out my yarn. I'll cut that and pull it all the way out, just like this. Snip, pull out. And then we're going to needle finish it. So I'm going to put that yarn onto a tapestry needle or a yarn needle, something with a large enough eye for my yarn. And now I'm going to do an invisible finish. So skip the next stitch and go through sideways through both loops of the next stitch after. Pull through and then go back down through the center of this stitch where this stitch pulled out of, like that. And when you pull that closed, it looks like a stitch from the top and the front, and you can't see, it's an invisible kind of finish. And we can weave in our ends and be done with our edge. We can take a look at the beautiful edge and the join. So it makes this beautiful little join here that looks like a lattice or a braid. And on the parts that are not joined, you get beautiful little peaks all along the edge. You get these cute little corners on the corner of your square. And then where 4 join, you get sort of a square opening between the squares. Now I also like how this looks when you do an extra round or 2 of this around the edge, and I'll show you how I like to do that. Because here we have sort of a thicker join, and here we just have the edge stitch single, which I think looks beautiful. And if I had a thicker border and just had this edge stitch going all the way around, I think I would like just one round of this edge stitch. But since here I have this thicker join, I want to do 1 or 2 more rounds of the edge stitch on top of the previous round. So I'll show you that. So to do that, I'll start over here so you can see what happens when we go across a join. So I'll start somewhere along here. And again, I'll start with a standing single crochet. I just loop my yarn around. You can do a slip knot. I go into that corner of the little 2-stitch grouping with the chain 2 chain space. I'm going to make a single crochet. There we go. Pull that tail, pull the loop, chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to turn it diagonal because that's how it works better for me. And then I'm going to do another single crochet back into that same chain 2 chain space, chain 1, and then work that same little combo of single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the corner of the previous round of this little stitch grouping, chain 1. We don't have to count the stitches this time. We're just working into the peak of each of these little edge stitches that we made before. So chain 1, work into the next, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet back into the same spot, chain 1. Again, into the little corner there, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1. Now we just skip to the next one, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1, and so on. So we're going to keep working along the edge just like that, and then I'll show you what I do in the corner because it is a little bit different. Okay, I'm at the corner now. I've done my little grouping, worked into that previous grouping. Here's my chain 1 between. I'm going to work into this little corner as usual. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet back into that little corner. And if you remember, in this first corner, we just worked a grouping. We did single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then immediately single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. The only difference here is we're going to do that chain 1 in between this grouping and the next. So single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, chain 1, then do our single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into that second group of the corner, and then work as per usual, chain 1, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, back into the same spot, and chain 1 and move to the next spot. So for round 2, if we're stacking and making a thicker border like this, we are going to work the corner just slightly differently. And if we do a third round, we would probably chain 2 between these 2 spots. Just keep adding chains so that you make room and your corner doesn't curl up. You want to give it space to expand in both directions as you add rounds. So you can stack as many of these extra rounds around the edge as you want. Here is what 2 rounds looks like. I might even want to do a third round on this one. So I'm going to work that up and then show you how it looks. Okay, I've gone ahead and worked a third round of this little edge stitch as my border here. And I like how that looks. It could be really cute to do one more in a contrast from here, like the really light pink color or the dark again or white. That could be cute so that you still get this effect that we have here of seeing this sort of pop against the other color. Or you can just leave it like this, a wider little border there like this. I'm going to show you how to do the corner on the third round of this edge stitch border. So here we have our two border groupings here. This one had a chain 1 between, the first had nothing between. You can just do your little grouping of single crochet, chain 2 into the corner. And you could just chain 2 here, 1, 2, and then we'll jump over to this corner and do your grouping again, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet in the same spot, then back to chain 1 and working along the edge. As usual. So that gives us a corner like that, sort of a rounded corner. The other thing we can do is more of a pointed corner. So instead of doing this chain 2 here between the two groupings, you could instead work your initial grouping here, your single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into this corner spot. Then we can work into this chain 1 space. And I think what I discovered looked cute was to do a chain 1, then work into this single chain here, this little chain space between the two corners with a double crochet, chain 2, and put another double crochet in that chain 1 chain space between the corners. Oops. There we go. Chain 1 again, and then work into this little corner with the normal grouping of single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into the chain 2 corner there. Then continue along the edge, chain 1, and then the normal grouping of single crochet, chain 2, single crochet. And then you get sort of a pointed corner if you do it that way. So it depends whether you want more of a rounded look or more of a pointed look at your corner. But either way, that is an option. You can do this little stitch as a join between squares. You can do it as a stacked multi-round border, or you can do it as a basic edge stitch along a square or along a border, or around a coaster, at the edge of a bag, or around a pillow, whatever it is that you're crocheting. You can use this stitch in multiple ways. I've also used this edge stitch on this cute little coaster pattern that I just designed, a little scrappy spring floral coaster. And I think that looks pretty cute. So I'll leave the pattern link in the description if you're interested in that. So I hope you enjoyed this video and learning how to make this cute, very versatile edge stitch and join and border. Thanks so much for watching today. Don't forget to like the video, share it if you want to share it with someone, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, leave a comment and I will respond. If you'd like to check out the patterns that I have for sale, I have links to my Ravelry store and Etsy in the description of the video, and I will see you next time. Happy crafting!